Hello and welcome to day 69 of the Not Alone Today Chronological Bible Reading Plan with Joseph and Anu. Today we'll be reading Joshua 22 to 23 using the God's Word translation.
Chapter 22. Joshua summoned the tribes of Reuben and Gad and half of the tribe of Manasseh. He said to them, "You have done everything the Lord's servant Moses commanded you. You have also obeyed me in everything I commanded you. All this time to this day you have never deserted your relatives. You have carefully kept the commands of the Lord your God."
Now the Lord your God has given your relatives peace as he promised them. So return home to the land that is your own possession. It is the land that the Lord's servant Moses gave you east of the Jordan River. Carefully follow the commands and teachings that the Lord's servant Moses gave you. Love the Lord your God, follow his directions, and keep his commands. Be loyal to him and serve him with all your heart and soul. Then Joshua blessed them. He sent them on their way and they went to their homes.
Moses had given land in Bashan as an inheritance to half of Manasseh, and Joshua had given the other half of the tribe their land with their relatives west of the Jordan. When Joshua sent them home, he blessed them. He also said to them, "Return to your homes with your vast wealth, large herds of livestock, silver, gold, bronze, iron, and loads of clothing. Divide the loot from your enemies with your relatives."
So the tribes of Reuben and Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh left the rest of the Israelites at Shiloh in Canaan. They returned to Gilead. This was their own possession, which they had captured as the Lord had instructed them through Moses. Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh came to the region of the Jordan that was still in Canaan. They built an altar by the Jordan River. The altar was very large and highly visible. The rest of the Israelites heard about it and said, "See there, Reuben, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh have built an altar at the border of Canaan. It is in the region near the Jordan River on Israel's side." When the people of Israel heard about it, the whole congregation of Israel gathered at Shiloh. They intended to wage war against them.
The Israelites sent Phinehas, son of the priest Eleazar, to the tribes of Reuben and Gad and half of the tribe of Manasseh in Gilead. 10 leaders, one from each tribe in Israel, went with him. Each man was a leader of a household and head of a family division in Israel. When they arrived, these leaders said to the people of Gilead, "All of the Lord's congregation is asking, what is this faithless act you have committed against the God of Israel? Today you have turned away from following the Lord by building an altar for yourselves. Today you have rebelled against the Lord. Does the sin we committed at Peor mean nothing to us anymore? Didn't we cleanse ourselves from it? Because of that sin there was a plague on the Lord's congregation. You have turned away from following the Lord. Today you rebel against the Lord, and tomorrow he will be angry with the whole congregation of Israel. If your land is unclean, come over here to the Lord's land. The Lord's tent is standing there. Take some property for yourselves among us. Don't rebel against the Lord or against us by building an altar for yourselves in addition to the altar of the Lord our God. Didn't Achan, son of Zerah, act faithlessly with the things claimed by the Lord? Didn't the Lord become angry with the whole congregation of Israel? Achan wasn't the only one who died because of his sin."
Then the tribes of Reuben and Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh answered the heads of the divisions of Israel. They said, "The Lord is the only true God. He knows, so let Israel know. If our act is rebellious or unfaithful to the Lord, don't spare us today. If we built an altar with the intention of no longer following him, and if we built it for making burnt offerings, grain offerings, or fellowship offerings, let the Lord punish us."
We were worried because of the situation we are in. We thought sometime in the future your children might say to our children, "What relationship do you have with the Lord God of Israel? The Lord has made the Jordan River a dividing line between us and you, the descendants of Reuben and Gad. You have no connection with the Lord. So your descendants will stop our descendants from worshiping the Lord." Then we said, Let's build an altar for ourselves. It will not be for burnt offering or sacrifices, but it will stand as a witness between us for generations to come. It will stand as a witness that we may worship in the presence of the Lord with our burnt offerings, sacrifices, and fellowship offerings. Then your descendants cannot say to our descendants, you have no connection with the Lord. So we thought, if this statement is made to us or to our descendants in the future, we will answer and say, look at the model of the Lord's altar our ancestors made. They didn't make it for burnt offerings or sacrifices, but to stand as a witness between us. It will be unthinkable for us to rebel against the Lord or to turn back today from following the Lord by building an altar for burnt offerings, grain offerings, or sacrifices in addition to the altar of the Lord our God that is in front of his tent.
When the priest Phinehas, the leaders of the congregation and the heads of the division of Israel heard what the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh said, they were satisfied. Then Phinehas, son of the priest Eleazar, said to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, today we know the Lord is among us, because you did not commit an unfaithful act against the Lord. Now you have rescued the people of Israel from the Lord's punishment.
Then Phinehas, son of the priest Eleazar, and the leaders returned from Reuben and Gad in Gilead to Israel in Canaan and gave them the report. The people of Israel were satisfied with the report, so they praised God and didn't talk anymore about going to war against Reuben and Gad and destroying the land where they were living.
The tribes of Reuben and Gad gave the altar a name, witness between us that the Lord is the only true God.
Chapter 23. A long time afterward, the Lord gave the Israelites peace with all their enemies around them. Joshua was old, near the end of his life, so he called all the leaders, chiefs, judges, and officers of Israel together. He said to them, I am old, near the end of my life. You have seen for yourselves everything the Lord your God did to all those nations. The Lord your God fought for you. I have given you the territory of the nations that still remain as an inheritance for your tribes. This includes the territory of all the nations I have already destroyed from the Jordan River westward to the Mediterranean Sea. The Lord your God will expel them right in front of your eyes and force them out of your way. You will take their land as the Lord your God told you. Now you must be very strong to keep and to do everything written in the book of Moses' teachings. Don't turn away from them. Don't get mixed up with the nations left in your territory. Don't ever mention the names of their gods or swear an oath to them. Don't ever serve their gods or bow down to them. But you must be loyal to the Lord your God as you have been until now. The Lord has forced important and powerful nations out of your way. Not one person was ever able to stand up to you. One of you used to chase 1,000. That was because the Lord your God was fighting for you, as he had promised you. Be very careful to love the Lord your God.
But if you turn away and go along with the other nations within your borders, if you intermarry with them or associate with them, then you should know that the Lord your God will never again force these people out of your way. Instead, there will be a snare and a trap for you, a whip laid to your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until none of you are left in this good land that the Lord your God has given you.
Pay attention, because I will soon die like everyone else. You know with all your heart and soul that not one single promise which the Lord your God has given you has ever failed to come true. Every single word has come true.
Every good word the Lord your God has promised you has come true for you. In the same way, the Lord will bring about every evil curse until he has destroyed you from this good land that he has given you. When you ignore the conditions placed on you by the Lord your God and follow other gods, serve them and bow down to them, the Lord will be angry with you. Then you will quickly disappear from the good land he has given you. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Here is a quick summary of chapters 22 to 23 that we've read today. In chapter 22, we read that Joshua told Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh to go to the land east of the Jordan that Moses had given them through God's command. And then Joshua blessed them and sent them on their way. However, when the people got to their allotment, they built a very big altar by the Jordan River that was quite visible. And when the Israelites heard about it, they thought those 3 tribes, they've moved away from worshiping God. So the Israelites sent some of their men and their leaders to go to Reuben and Gad and Manasseh in Gilead to ask them why they've done such a faithless act against God. But the people, the Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh said they didn't intend to worship another God. And if they do intend to do that, may God punish them. But the explanation was quite satisfactory to the Israelites, and they waged no war against them. In chapter 23, we read about how that Joshua again admonished the Israelites to follow God's teaching and not to mix up with the nations left in their territories or serve or bow down to them. And if they do that, God will not force them again out of their way, but instead the people will be a snare to the Israelites until none of them are left in the good land God has given them. And then Joshua said here again that he will soon die, and then encouraged them again to follow God with all their hearts and their souls. Did anything stand out to you in chapter 22?
Yes, 2 things. One, the fact that indeed the Reubenites, Gadites, and half tribe of Manasseh, the Manassites, they kept their deal that they made with Moses. We've not necessarily heard much about them doing this or that in the course of all these battles, but apparently they have followed through and ensured that they fought alongside their brothers to the point where until everyone had gotten what belonged to them as they negotiated with Moses, they were ready to return. And I think that's instructive for us, just in this sense of, our Christianity and Christian faith being a communal experience. It's never always all about us. We saw what happened with Achan, how the sin of one man had implications for the entire nation. That's more or less the framework with which we think of the Christian faith. Paul will help us to picture it as a body of Christ. And so we must continue to replicate that, whatever that looks like, in our various local assemblies and other communities that we belong to. The pain of one is the pain of all. The joy of one is the joy of all. But then the main thing that stood out to me is actually the power of communication. Came out very strongly from the latter half of that chapter. I just love the dialogue, I love the dialogue in the sense that the people of Israel sent these delegates that expressed the displeasure of the remaining tribes. And these ones, the Reubenites, Gadites, and Manassites, also came with their own rebuttal or explanation, actually, more like it, to just say, no, wait, there's nothing like what you are insinuating here. And in reasoning together, the Bible says in verse 30 that they were satisfied with that explanation. And that's it. There are many unnecessary battles that we fight. If only both parties will come together and just, explain things clearly, and life will be beautiful, especially in marriage. What stood out to you?
Yes. Firstly, I just want to backtrack to day 68 when we're reading about the cities of refuge, because I'd only just found out that other translations call those cities of asylum. And we know that asylum is still in place right now.
Indeed.
Where that someone, for example, might kill someone in Iran and fear persecution there, and can run to the UK and seek asylum, and we will be saved. So it felt very, what's the word? Revelatory to me. That, it's still in place. That's why my heart was so drawn to it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that asylum system is still in place, where if you're persecuted in your country, it might not be for killing someone, it might be for some other things. If you don't feel safe in a country, you can go to another country and claim asylum there.
Indeed. The legal system across many of our contexts, especially in the Western world and indeed across the continent, when we begin to really look at it, we see that all of these things come back to what God has given to the Israelites as a template. Many of the ideas and ideologies and philosophies, if you will, that run through these commands that God gave his people would go on to shape civilization as we know it today. Of course, most of what we call civilization in the world today owes its very existence to Christianity. And Christianity has its roots in the worship of the God of Israel, in that sense. So yeah, it's just good to see that, to trace that all the way through, as one of the enduring legacies of what the Christian faith has delivered to the world.
True.
Yeah.
That's good. And then in chapter 22, what stood out to me was firstly the patience of Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. In that it was in Numbers 35 that they were given the promise of the Transjordan region as their own inheritance. And when the allotment started in Joshua chapter 18, nowhere did we see these three tribes come to say, where is our own? Where is our own possession? When can we go? But they waited patiently until Joshua commanded their leaving. And that to me is quite instructive. In that they, like, other people are settling in their homes, they're sweeping their house, they are enjoying themselves. But these men have not seen their wives and children for years. But still, they stayed and waited until their leader said, now you can go, and bless them and send them on their way. I found that very, very instructive.
Thank you. That's good. In chapter 23, what stood out to me was a couple of things. Again, we've touched on the fact before that every single promise God gave them came true, and this is Joshua beginning to remind them. Of course, in chapter 24, we'll see a longer version of his farewell speech as we bring the book of Joshua to a close. But there's a phrase in verse 12 that stood out to me amongst what Joshua was saying to them. If you turn away and go along with the other nations within your borders. That phrase, the other nations within your borders. Of course, we've suspected that this was the case when we started to read that repeated rhetoric of they did not chase out all the people. Sometimes they will say they subjected them to forced labor and things like that. But it is very instructive that they now have in their settled status, in this version where everybody has quote and unquote possessed their possessions, there are still other nations within their borders. And Joshua is beginning to anticipate that something will happen because of that. So he's beginning to give them warnings. Don't intermarry with them. Don't associate with them and things like that, because eventually they would become thorns in your eyes until none of you are left in this good land that the Lord your God has given you. And that is literally going to come to pass, as they would be taken away in captivity, first for the northern kingdom and eventually the southern kingdom. So it's just, very instructive on that, in that sense, to see that there are other nations within their borders. We are seeing a picture of all is good, all is calm, but it's only 2 more pages before we begin to see things go haywire. But till then, we'll wait and see. Anything stood out to you in chapter 23?
Yes, but first, I just want to go back to 22. If indeed Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, the purpose of building the altar was so their children will remember.
Yeah.
Why didn't they build it within their region? Why build it by the Jordan River? And why make it very large and highly visible? And still remember, when Joshua crossed the Jordan River, an altar was built of 12 stones to remind the Israelites of how God crossed them over. Like, I feel a bit of a check with their reasoning for building the altar. Yes, they don't want their children to forget, but if you don't want your child to forget something, won't you build the altar within your premise? Why build it on the edge by the Jordan River? As to what purpose?
Yeah.
Because at the initial stance of them taking that allotment for themselves, when allotment has not even started, raises a check and a concern.
Indeed.
So in Numbers 32,
Yeah.
when the Reubenites, Gadites, and half tribe of Man, and it's actually just the Reuben and Gadites, when they asked for the Transjordan region, they said to Joshua, no, they said to Moses that he should not make them cross the Jordan and give them that land, because they saw that the land was suitable for livestock.
Sorry to cut in, wasn't that also curious that when we read that, initially it was Reuben and Gad, and then somewhere curiously along the line, we heard that half of the tribe of Manasseh, which means even within the Manasseh tribe, now we begin to see a split. Half of them are saying, let's go together with the Reubenites and Gadites and claim these parts that, we've already conquered. But yeah, continue your thoughts. Sorry, that's a question that's been lingering in my head, that we keep talking of half of the tribe of Manasseh. Why was Manasseh as a tribe split is a question that still remains unresolved, and we don't have the story behind that. But yeah.
So they didn't want to cross the Jordan. That's why they asked for the land. It was when Moses charged them about their greed.
Yeah.
That was when they then agreed that, okay, actually, our wives and children will stay in the Transjordan region while we go with our brothers to fight, and afterwards we'll return. But before they left, Numbers 32, 34 to 38 said that they gave names to the city they rebuilt. So whilst they were in that region, they had already made preparation for what they want for themselves. So going back to what we've read in Joshua 22, again, I'm reading it to be that on the first hand of them asking for that region as their own allotment and not wanting to cross to Jordan to go fight with their brothers already signals a caution in my head, like, why? God is giving it to you as a nation. Why are you splitting yourself from at the first hand? And then that behavior reads into the implication of them building an altar. They didn't just build an altar in the East Jordan of the cities they rebuilt. They went to build the altar by the Jordan River. And it was not just an ordinary altar. It was an altar that was very large and highly visible. And highly visible. If indeed they wanted their children to remember that they are part of the nation of Yahweh, why make it so highly visible? Your children are small, they are short. Why make it so high? Again, the composition of the altar raises a check and a flag again to say, there is more to them building this altar and asking for the Transjordan region than they are putting forward. It reads to me, it reeks of wanting things for themselves, not wanting to be a part of the nation, or at the most. I'll stop.
I mean, you've raised very valid concerns and made very interesting connections, and I think it's a good point actually to stand, because now we are at the threshold of them possessing their possessions in the promised land, all the 12 tribes, including Levi. It's a good point to then begin to talk about what we are going to see in the unfolding stories to come. And a good amount of that history is tied to this split. First, the intra-tribal split within Manasseh, which again, we don't even have the full details of why we begin to talk of half tribe of Manasseh on the east side of the Jordan River and the other half somewhere on the western side of the Jordan River. But this is going to have implications for the rest of the history of the Israelites in the Old Testament. We're already seeing how this is bringing a threat of civil war and suspicion just by that act of raising that altar. By the time we continue the story, we'll begin to see that because of this separation by the Jordan River, those on the east, the Reubenites, Gadites, and half of the tribe of Manasseh, they began to form their own kind of identity and dialect and tribe. There is a tribal identity to them that is beginning to distance themselves away from the Israelites. By the time we turn the page into the book of Judges, then we begin to see a breakdown in their coming together as a nation. There was going to be a time when Deborah would say, okay, let's send for these people to come and join us to fight, and they will blatantly refuse to join them to fight. By the time we go on in the story, even within the Israelites, there's going to be that intertribal warfare, because it got to a point that their language has become different. The way their dialect has become different from the dialect of the Israelites. And the way they would know is by just using one particular word that those on the east can only pronounce it a certain way, Shibboleth and Sibboleth. And so if you can't pronounce that word properly, they know whether you're from the east or you're from the west, whether you should be killed or you should be spared. And that would just lead on to all sorts of issues. And ultimately, of course, they became extremely vulnerable as a minority group on the eastern side of Jordan. So there are so much implications for this that we'll begin to see as we continue in the story. But they do, what you've said raised all sorts of red flags indeed by what they have done, even though they have justifications and validations and ways of explaining it out. They did that with Moses. They explained it away, and now they are doing it again with the delegates from Joshua's era, and they are explaining what they've done away. But we know from the rest of the corpus of scriptures that this is going to have profound implications as we go along the line. It's good to read the Bible like a lawyer.
Yeah, I should have said sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
23 at last. What stood out to me 23?
Yeah.
I don't think I should say anything else. 23.
But go ahead.
Verse 13, where Joshua was telling them not to turn away from God, and that if they do associate themselves or intermarry with the people of the other nations, they'll become a trap and snare for them until none of them are left in the good land.
Indeed. Again, the chapter ends with that reassurance or reminder that, God has fulfilled every single word, but also with the warning that when you go ahead and follow other gods, you will quickly disappear from the good land he has given you. It's just interesting to see how the story unfolds from here, and we can't wait to get into those pages. So come again on day 70 and let's flip the page together as we read the last chapter in Joshua's era, Joshua chapter 24. But till then, just remember, you're not alone
Today.
God bless you.
God bless you.